Harper Audio presents The Drifter, a novel, by Christine Lennon, performed by Johanna Parker. I could not tell myself the old story, once upon a time, because the time was now, the story was now. I had believed I was causing the story to take place, but in fact, the story was taking place around me, as a tide rises, brackish and muddy and filthy and filled with debris. My Kappa sisters were fascinating to me, as giant, brightly feathered predator birds would be fascinating to a small songbird hiding in the brush, or trying to hide in the brush. Joyce Carol Oates. Prologue. September 9th, 2010. From her perch on the brownstone stoop, Elizabeth lifts up her sunglasses, runs her ring finger along her lower lashes to flick away the welling tears, and glances at her phone to check the time. 9:25. She shifts her weight to her left hip and stretches out her other leg to let the blood circulate to her toes, then sits back against the iron railing and scans the street. As nonchalantly as possible, doing her best impression of a person who isn't entirely unhinged, she scrolls through her emails, keeping her peripheral vision trained on the front door of the tan brick building across the street. Several times a minute, her eyes dart back to the entrance. By now, she knows the morning rhythms of the block by heart. The middle-aged silver fox in Italian loafers who catches a cab on the corner of Fifth Avenue. The pair of Caribbean nurses who swap comic insults as they walk to the radiology clinic down the street. The 20-something who stumbles out of her apartment in pricey yoga wear at the same time every morning, but never makes it further than the corner for a coffee. Their familiarity has become a comfort to Elizabeth. It's the new faces, like the driver of the black sedan, who seemed to stare at her from behind his mirrored glasses while he waited for his fare, that unnerve her. Today, a quick study of the scene reveals a FedEx delivery truck, 2 tattooed bike messengers, a few flustered parents dragging their children to school. Elizabeth eyes these women with a bit of envy and suspicion. Perversely, she wishes that her own daughter would put up more of a fight each morning at drop-off. Back in July, on the first day of the week-long transition period, Remy was the child in her classroom to wander over, tug at her mother's hand, and say, "Mommy, it's okay if you want to go now." Elizabeth had tried not to look as stricken as she felt. "All right, sweetie," she said, forcing a smile. She'd lingered for a while in the other room, out of her daughter's sight, sipping weak coffee from a thin paper cup, waiting for the school's beatific director, Elodie, a woman whose chipper condescension she found impossibly irritating, to come in, pull her aside, and whisper gravely, "Elizabeth, can you come back in for a minute? Remy needs you." It never happened. "I guess that's the one good thing about waiting to send your child to preschool until she's nearly 5 years old," Elodie had said to Elizabeth on the morning of Remy's first full day of school. Elodie rarely missed an opportunity to remind Elizabeth that her daughter was starting preschool unusually late for a sophisticated city kid. "Is Remy ever ready to be here with us?" Elodie would say in front of the other moms at drop-off. "It's like she was shot out of a cannon." Elizabeth knew she had started off on the wrong foot with Elodie during the parent interview many months ago. Things started heading south right in the middle of Elizabeth's grand inquisition about teacher background checks. She grilled Elodie about how frequently the school changed the code to the keypad at the door, whether the strike plates on the door locks were kick-resistant, and what the school's disaster preparedness plans were. But then, just as Elodie looked really disturbed and on the verge of showing them the door, Elizabeth's husband, Gavin, leaped to her rescue. He put his arm around his wife, flashed the preschool director his trademark grin, and saved the day with his relaxed charm, as he so often did whenever Elizabeth got carried away.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?